All right, guys. So, as promised, this is going to be a kind of like a mini course or tutorial on unique trendline analysis. And this is something that I learned way back in, I'm gonna say probably 2009, 2010. And it stems from there was this one trader that I used to follow. If anybody's familiar with Daily FX, they used to have a forum where you can kind of join with other members and communicate, share your screenshots and all this other stuff. This is way back in 2010, 2011, 2012, around there. So there was this one trader who I used to analyze his charts because it was very unique. I didn't really understand how he was gaining precise entries on his forex trades. So, as you guys already know, if you join some kind of group or any type of maybe signal service or whatever, everybody's announcing, their entries and their exits and all this stuff, right? But what I found is that this guy, his entries were so precise that it kind of frustrated me because back then, I started trading in 2008. So, well, I wouldn't say late 2008, more of like starting 2009. I kind of started with stocks, and then I transitioned to forex probably around mid to late 2009. But anyway, his entries was extremely precise, and I was just trying to make a few $100, you know, on trades and getting long or short, and having to deal with drawdown because I was using just your average support and resistance, right? So traditionally, what everybody's using nowadays, or I mean, this is not nowadays, but everybody's just using the standard support and resistance, or nowadays they call it structure or price action trading or whatever the case is. But I'm going to show you. So if I pull this over here, so this, let's say for example, would be considered a support zone or a structure of support. Support becomes resistance and resistance becomes support. But the problem was is that if I, for example, you know, it's a zone, right? And if you enter, let's say, for example, along here, you don't know if this market's going to turn around like it did here. It might go down further, and you're just like kind of frustrated, like, okay, I'm bearish on this move because you look. Let's say, for example, you're looking at a longer time frame, and you're like, okay, where am I going to get in? How am I going to get into this trade to follow this trend? And not only get in, but get in at an optimal price so I don't have to suffer big drawdowns or, I need to know when I'm wrong so I can get out, right? So that I can protect my capital and control risk. So after digging and taking screenshots of this guy's charts, I kind of found what he was doing. I guess it wasn't because he didn't want to explain it, but it was because he didn't really know how to explain it, if that makes any sense. He just knew. It was like a trader intuition for him. He was just, it was an advanced strategy, so it wasn't as easy to just teach, so to speak. So I can understand where it's coming from because in a way it takes practice, and it takes it takes a while to really get accustomed to it and really learn it. But this is one of the strategies. Once I learned it, I was able to get in at precise entries and exits. And I'm gonna go. This is a euro. This is a chart of the euro USD. It's a daily chart, and I'm gonna go all the way back to, let's see, all when I started using it. This is back further back. Okay, I remember this. Okay, I remember this. So, and obviously, I have one big strategy that I use that I developed over many years of testing it, and so it gives me a gauge of where the market's likely to go in terms of a big swing move. But that's neither here nor there. That's another video for another day. But right now, I'm just going to focus on this trend line strategy that I told you guys I was going to teach you. Okay, so traditionally, everywhere you look, everybody's talking about, this is how you use trend lines, and this is the best way to use trend lines. And there's nothing against that. Everybody has their own way of trading. Like I've come across so many traders over the years that, everybody has their unique style. But if I draw this out, okay, I already have predetermined trend lines that I use for different things. Let's say we take this bottom, okay, and the traditional way is this to connect this support to this support, okay, and you see how this trend line forms out. Okay, you got support here, you got support here, you got support here, you got support here, support here, and now this move's coming down. Now, if you're into chart patterns, I guess you can look at it this way and map it out and say, oh, okay, this is a large rising wedge, and I'm gonna get, I'm leaning towards the bearish side because this is a bearish pattern. Most people, let's say you have this break. Now this is textbook, right? You get long on the break. Everybody talks about, oh, so when the price breaks the trend line, that's when you go short. But sometimes that obviously doesn't happen, right? The market makes a move down, you get short, and the market pulls all the way back up. And then, you assume that it's going to test this trend line again and then continue down. Sometimes it goes back into the trend line. And you're like, all right, now I'm stuck in this position. And, I followed the textbook way of trading it. The market broke down. I entered short and I entered my stop up here, only for the market to reverse and stop me out. Now I'm frustrated because now it's back into the trend line, and it just kind of like fades in there, and it starts, going sideways, and you're left confused and frustrated. And you're like, all right, shit, I'm stuck in this trade, and I'm going to endure a loss. The way I kind of saw how to use trend lines is to use them as a support and resistance, or resistance to a support. And I'm going to go into and show you right now. Let's say you have this trend line here, okay? You want to, let's say, for example, say we want to get short. This market made a big move down. And we're going to take our tool over here, which is the magnet tool. We want to capture the absolute tops and the absolute bottoms. So in this case, let's say, let me remove this here so I can replay it. Let's say you have this pattern, or you're bearish for whatever reason, right? For your own technical analysis, you're like, okay, this market looks like it's going to drop. How do I get in on the drop? Again, you take this tool, the Trendline tool. This is a support. I'm sorry, a resistance, and then we're going to connect it to a support, an absolute support, which would be here. Now, I don't know how you guys have your trend line set up. If you go into the settings, sometimes it's like this, right? So you got to go in, you got to double click, and you got to extend right, because the market's always moving forward, right? Sometimes back in the day, I used to use extend left to see what the market did, if the like the trend line matched up with something. But I moved away from that and just always wanted to extend it right to see what the market's going to do, and I'll decide if I want to get in on that trade or not. Okay, so we have our resistance and our support. Now, as I mentioned in the last video, it takes patience sometimes to wait for the market to make a move, and again, that's a whole nother video where patience is crucial. It's a really hard thing, right, with trading psychology and emotions. But just to focus on this right now, let me show you what happens. So obviously the market's doing its thing, and then you can see how it finds support here, right? From this top, absolute top, to this absolute bottom. Now, in this case, I think there was some kind of divergence or bearish divergence, so I wasn't really looking to go long. I was looking to go short. So I just waited it out, said, okay, if this market pulls all the way back up here, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm just looking for a break to the downside. And then once it does break, then I'll be patient to see how the market's going to react over this trend line. So let me move a little forward. Okay, look, huge break to the downside. Now, we're not in the business of chasing the market, right? You got to let the market come to you so you can have the best opportunities based on your strategies, or in this case, based on this trendline strategy. You got to wait for it to pull back. If it does, sometimes the market doesn't pull back. Sometimes it keeps on going, and you have to adjust your analysis. But in this case, I waited for it to pull back. Okay, it looks like it's getting away from me. So most amateur traders or traders that don't really, they haven't been exposed to trendline trading for a long time, they'll usually get long here and say, okay, this is a huge break. We can continue down, and then the market starts bouncing up. Where are we looking to go short? We're looking to go short around this trend line here. Okay, this is an absolute top. This is an absolute bottom. And the examples I'm showing you right now, they're trades that I actually took. So that's how I remember them. But I'm also going to show you some trades that didn't work, right? Because no strategy, it doesn't matter what it is not absolute perfect. What we're looking to use is something that, when it does work very well, it helps limit our risk in the market, and we can decide quickly if we're right or we're wrong, right? So let's continue on. See this nice bounce. Okay, it's just going all over the place. Big wicks to the upside and big wicks to the downside. And here we go. Okay. Our entry would have been right around here. This zone right here. One of the key things is that if you went short here, you don't have to put your stop too far away. Now, before I used to put a 50 pip stop, but just for the sake of volatility, sometimes I adjusted my risk and used 100 pip stops. So I know if, for example, if it closes above this trend line, I know that I'm wrong and I need to get out. Whether the market keeps on going or it fakes me out, it doesn't matter. If you're following that strategy and you have a set stop, if it stops you out, fine, it's whatever. But in this case, you see, the entry would have been up here at about 1.5350, somewhere in the zone, right over here. Okay, so let's assume this is our entry, and our stop is up here. Let's say 100 pips, 80 pips, and I don't suggest a lot bigger a stop loss than 100 pips, because if the market's going to make a huge move above the trend line, then it's likely the trade's not going to work out. So let's continue on. That's our entry, and you see how the market respects that. Okay, makes another attempt. You see this? Say we're short here, but that's okay. We got our stop all the way up here. The market makes another attempt, but it's still respecting this trend line. It's not closing above it. Okay, let me remove this. It's not closing above it, and that means that we're still safe in this trade. Once again, it tries again, right? But it doesn't matter. We have our short position here, and we have our stops up here, and it finally breaks. Okay, there we go. And probably going to test this low, and on we go. Okay, now that's one trade. You're probably thinking, okay, so what about now? Like, what's the next move if it keeps on, going down? So you can use something like this, for example, a support and resistance zone. Okay, this is an obvious resistance support zone. I don't use zones like this. Again, I use pivot levels that are, well, actually unique pivot levels. I use them a little differently. They gives me kind of more confidence to stay in the trade and just let it run. But you can see how, again, take this tool, this absolute top to this absolute bottom, and that would have been a nice trade to let it go for, I don't know, 300, 500 pips plus. So market keeps on going, and again, we can adjust. Now that this trade is over, we can try to adjust again from absolute top to absolute bottoms. Again, this might be one that didn't work, but we're going to do it anyway because the trend that we know that it's down. So it's in our favor. We're going to take the top to the bottom. Okay, you see what happened? This absolute top to this absolute bottom. And look what happened. It went short here, but you stop up there. Market respected this and dropped a good amount right here. Okay. Now again, since our stops are up here, the market might try to push back up and give you a fake out and then continue down. But this is why you always be patient with your positions, because you don't want to. It's the psychology of trading, right? You don't want to chase trades. That's what the market does. It forces you, or it tries to force you to make dumb trades, and it all comes down. It all ties in with, to be greedy and want to make as much money as you can, and that's perfectly understandable. That's the point. That's the reason why you're trying to trade, to make profit and to make big profit. But I'm going to make another video about the whole psychological thing and what I've learned, because I had a huge battle with psychology and emotions and all that for many years. So I'm going to make another video on that. But again, if you're short here, you stay there and you put your stop above that trend line. Okay, it's going to screw around. You see how it goes. And there you go. Okay, it would have been an entry up here or entry here. That trade's done, and now we're looking to see what we're going to do. Okay, I don't see no trendline opportunities. The next one I would probably say is, okay, where can I look at a resistance to another support? I'm going to take this absolute top right over here, and I'm going to connect it to this absolute bottom right over here. Okay. If I'm going to get short again, I'm going to wait for the market. It doesn't matter if the market keeps on going down. So what? Let it keep on going down. What we're looking to do with this strategy is to wait to see if the market pulls back and gives us an opportunity, another opportunity to get short. Okay? So again, here we go. Okay. Pulled all the way back. We're short over here in this zone. Let's see what happens. Okay, here we go. Okay, there you go. See, this is a perfect example why you shouldn't rush to add positions, because you would have been like, oh, okay, so I'm short here now. Now let me add another short position here, and we're gonna go lower. You would have got blasted by this huge candle right over here. I'm telling you, the market does this. It's all about a patience game and managing your risk and not getting too greedy about it. Because I'm telling you, the market it's gonna try, and especially if you're using a U.S. account. U.S. accounts have what I call, what it's called is a first in, first out rule. I absolutely hate it. Meaning, and then I understand some people wanted to use MT4. Just to give you an example, a quick example of what that is. Let's say you went short here, and then you went short down here. Because of that dumbass law, excuse my language, but because of that whole first in, first out thing, you need, if the market comes out here and you still bearish, you're forced to close your best trade first before you can close your losing trade. Don't know why that is. It just makes trading a lot harder, in my opinion, because if you have a short up here and you have a short here, but the market's going against you, but you still overall you have more of a bearish bias, you want to get rid of this bad position and keep the good one up here, and then maybe get back in later on. But because of that rule, it is what it is, right? So I guess in some unique way, it's kind of like telling you, hey, forcing you to be more careful of adding positions, right? Because if you're using something like MT4 or some unregulated broker, you can do whatever the hell you want. You can add a bunch of positions, you can do all this stuff, right? But anyway, so you can see how this works. You found another resistance zone because of this absolute top and this absolute bottom. So our shorts would be here, okay? and then the market continues down. There you go, fluctuating a little bit sideways, even trying to make a pullback. Look at that. It tried to go all the way back up into that trend line. So if you added any shorts here, okay, it would have scared you out more than likely, because this is not, even though it's sideways, this is still a pretty decent pullback. Take somewhere around here, and yeah, this is about 260, almost a 300 pip pullback. So if you added more positions here, you're going to be screwed and stuck in this trade. But it doesn't matter because we're short here, our stop's up here, and it takes patience, right? Where this is for swing trading. This is not looking to get in and out of trades and all this stuff. But our position is still locked, it's still good, and we're just letting it run, and just let the trend take its course. Okay. Here you go. Just and the market just keeps on doing its thing. Now let's look at other examples. Let's see if I can X this out. Look for other trades that I've done in the past. Now I got to go all the way back here because I've been trading for a while, and also you can see how. Let's see here real quick. You can see how, if you're familiar with chart patterns, I remember I looked at this as a inverse head and shoulders pattern, and you can use a trend line for a breakout strategy like this, for example. Okay, let me draw this out. Let's say you had something like this. You're like, okay, there's a head and shoulders or inverse head and shoulders, and it breaks out and it does its move. Now I'm going to do another video on divergences because I remember going long on this trade because there was divergence over here. You see on the bottom? Take a divergence tool and we draw this out there and like that. Okay, so that divergence, I know this video is about trend lines, and this is what I'm showing you right now. But just as a side note, divergence are absolutely incredible for spotting major reversals in the market. There's just so much that I want to teach you guys that I'm trying to stick to one thing, but it's just a lot that I've accumulated over the years and trying to teach you. And so I don't want to divert away too much from the trendline strategy, but yeah, divergences help tremendously. You can even see divergence here and how this market made its move, right? So another trade that I took that I was looking for. Remember this move up over here. Now this wasn't yet formed out. So again, I'm gonna do the replay. Okay. I'm gonna take this tool, put the magnet on, support and resistance trend line. Now, this top to this bottom. Okay. Do we have an opportunity to potentially go long? Yes. It would have went short right around this zone. Okay. And the market does make a move. However, based on the strategy that I use for swing trading, this zone was telling me that there's a potential for a reversal here. So you can see how that works. Okay. And you could have, if you follow like the support, resistance, and the structure and all that, you probably would have got out on this high right over here. Okay, so that was a nice trade to get into. On the reverse side, I remember seeing divergence here. You can see this high is forming a lower high. So there was a chance of this market pushing up and then pulling back down below this trend line. So you can see how that works. Okay. You can see how we broke below this. Now, since we broke below this trend line now, is this going to be resistance? Okay, it's the same thing of support becomes support becomes resistance, and resistance becomes support, right? So you can see right over here, if we were to go short here and say, okay, this market closed below this trend line, you can see how it somewhat respects this. Okay, pulls up and it stays below it. Now, it's going to stay there. You can see how that works. Okay. So this strategy is great for getting in optimal levels without having to risk too much drawdown. Okay. So let's look at some other more examples. Let's close this out. Okay. Look at some other trades that I made over time. There was one that actually made a boatload of money way back when. Okay, here was another one I remember. So again, let's see. Remove this. Now I was adjusting this as it goes, but an absolute support to an absolute resistance. Okay. Now I'm bullish on this. Why? Multiple reasons, but mainly because there was divergence. Okay. This tells me that the market's potentially going to turn around here. Okay. This is a low, makes another low, and the MACD is diverging upward. So I'm waiting to see. It might be a few days, it might be a week or two. I'm waiting to get into the optimal, a potential optimal long position, because I want to be able to get in and not risk much. So let's see how this one works out. Okay, we got that break. I'm long right there, right at that spot, right in the zone. I'm long and I'm protecting my stop. I know the bullish move is coming potentially because of the divergence, so I'm just waiting it out. See, again, it's finding support multiple times. It's riding this trend line. This trend line over here, this support to this absolute resistance. You can see how it's just respecting that right there. Okay, so you stay long here. You got a longer term perspective. Say it's going to run up to 2900, 2800, whatever it is, based on your support and resistance strategies or whatever strategies you're using. You can use this to get long right over here and then let the market just do its thing. Now, what's funny about this is that I entered a long here, and I clearly remember this trade because this trade or these trades made me a lot of money. So I had this trend line, and then I got a little crazy with trend lines. I was like, oh, okay, let me draw another one. Let me find more opportunities, right? Because again, that's that greed coming in. I want to make as much money as I can in one shot, right? I want to hit a home run. So I took this other absolute low, okay, and I matched it to this here. Say this is the case right here. So support, resistance. Now, this one was tricky because it did close above this this trend line right over here, but the market saw this as resistance, so I pushed right back down. But I was still holding my long positions from back here. So get right above it. Okay, let's see if we can enter another long position, and there you go. See that? See how precise the entries are? I know it's pretty wild. Once you really get accustomed to it, now this is not a strategy you're not going to learn overnight. It takes practice. It takes a lot of chart screen time. But once you learn to master this and implement in your trading, forget it. You can have some incredible entries that'll really, help to protect your capital and mitigate risk, right? So this trade worked out extremely well. And again, you can also make adjustments as the market moves and develops. You're going to have to make adjustments, right? Because the market's going to change. Different things. The market's going to see new levels of resistance. It's going to see new levels of support. So you want to be able to adjust with that. Okay, one trend line is not going to last for, a couple of years. In some cases, maybe that might be true, but for the most part, you got to evolve with the market. And if something changes and the trend line is not working, it's just not working. Time to develop, right? The market's always making new highs, new lows, new highs, new lows, new lows, new highs, new lows, new highs, and you have to adjust with that. Okay, so again, you see how these entries work. Now, I remember this trade trying to find support over here, but eventually it does break down. Okay, all right, still respecting that support. Eventually tries to break down. Now, what's interesting is that once it breaks, you can see how I respected that resistance level. Okay, you could have got short there. I didn't because I was bullish. So if you're overall bullish or bearish on the market, I would advise to just be patient and wait for the right opportunity in the direction of the trend. I know it's hard to do because you're trying to make you're trying to make as much money as you can in the fastest way possible, but that's only going to lead to a detriment and frustration if the trades don't work out, right? So you can see how this develops, and again, see how this trend line from this bottom to this top respected support right over here, and how perfect this entry was here. So you could have entered a long. I don't think I entered a long position here. Not that I remember. I mean, I remember these and this one, but I don't remember going long here. But anyway, the point is, you can see how accurate some of these entries are. I mean, it's just incredible, right? See how it works? And I'll show you one more example of a trade that did work, that did work very well, and also helped me make a lot of money. And I'm going to show you a few that didn't work, or ones that, for example, the market didn't respect, or whatever the case is, right? So again, remember I talked about just a few seconds ago, or a minute ago, you have to adjust with the market. So now, if I'm looking at the chart, what is my absolute lows and what's my absolute highs? Again, this is still the ultimate low, and I'm connecting it to this high. Okay, why? I'm still bullish, but I'm going to be very careful if the market starts trending up here, and I'm going to watch this trend line. Okay, so let's see how this works. Okay, the market's just BSing around, going sideways, and doing all this stuff. Okay, here we go. Support, resistance. Market found some resistance here. Okay. Now, I remember I took profit somewhere around here. I obviously didn't wait till all the trend line, but I was waiting to see what this market's going to do. And I started to become bearish. Why? Again, I'll divert a little bit away from the trendline strategy. It's because I saw two things. Number one, I see a wedge taking shape. Excuse me. I see a wedge taking shape on the chart. And if I remember correctly, I think there was divergence on the weekly chart. I don't remember. This is way back 2012, 2013. But I could quickly draw that out for you. Okay. You see the wedge forming here. Say, okay, I got to be careful. I'm not going to look to go short yet. I want to see how this develops and pop back right over it. See? Okay. So, am I going to chase it? No. In this case, I'm going to wait till this market comes right back below this trend line, and then I'll look to see if there's an opportunity for me to go short. Okay. See? Big move. Okay. Got the move coming down. I'm watching this trend line zone. Here we go. Okay, it's finding support. But is it really going to make a big move up? No. Okay. Now, what do I do? I'm bearish now because I see the rising wedge. On the weekly chart, I see divergence, bearish divergence, negative divergence, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm just saying, okay, I want to find the optimal entry so that I can ride this all the way down. Okay, here we go. Just a side note. Remember I told you about the um, daily effects forum that I was a part of back then. It doesn't exist anymore because it got I think daily effects got bought out back in 2015, 2016, and back then it was owned by FXCM. You guys know the broker FXCM when it was the U.S. When FXCM was in the U.S. I was calling for short up here, which I did go short, and that this market was going to drop maybe about 3,100 or more because I was looking at a longer time frame. I kind of got laughed at, and I distinctly remember this because the moderators in there, they were good guys, right? It wasn't a crazy forum, like nothing against Forex Factory, but everybody's just trying to up everybody there, and it's sometimes it can be a cluster F, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I went short here, and the moderator's like, "Oh, why did you go short there? It's obviously this market's in an uptrend." But again, this trend line told me that we were probably going to find resistance, and it turns out I was absolutely correct. Okay, and you can see how that works. So just a funny little story there. And right after that, actually, the moderators reached out to me and asked me to do a global webinar for the traders that were part of the FXCM or Daily FX community, which was pretty interesting to do. And yeah, this was way back, but it was a good experience. Okay, so now we're done with all the ones that worked. It's perfect, all this other stuff, right? So let's get rid of this. Let's restart something new. Okay, let's go all the way back. We'll do a recent one. Okay. Well, actually, I got to show you this one other trade that I did that was actually really well, turned out really well. Again, we're looking on the chart. Where do we see an absolute? This one should be obvious, but where do you see an absolute top in this market? Okay, if having trouble finding it, this guy right here. I know this is all crazy because this is during the pandemic. You can see this is around 2020, and this is when the market just went crazy and all this stuff, right? This is a monster move because the world was ending and all this stuff, right? This is our absolute top. Now next, let me draw this replay, and this was a great trade. I remember this like it was yesterday. I'm going to take again my tool, support and resistance trend line, and I'm going to take this magnet, the absolute top to the absolute bottom. Okay, you can see how that works. Absolute resistance, support. Now this market up here, I remember there was some kind of divergence or something like that, that I was looking for some kind of pullback, and the market dropped. Okay, when it was coming down, let it come down. Of course, it's doing its thing. Now, based on the longer time frame, again, because we look at swing trades, based on the longer time frames, I'm looking to get long here for a potential move back up to this high or even higher. So let's take a look. Okay, here we go. I'm long here, and there was other reasons why I was long here, but this is just for the sake of trend lines. I'll show you, right? So this resistance, absolute resistance, so this absolute support. You saw it found support here. We're finding support again. Long right over here with a stop down here right below it. And it was a beautiful trade. Straight up. Okay. Made a good amount of profit on this trade, but you can see how powerful these trend lines are. They're absolutely powerful if you master them and learn to kind of like play with them a little bit. Okay, you don't have to start trading with it right away, but implement the strategy maybe on a demo account and start getting accustomed to it, seeing obvious highs. Because I know you probably have some questions. Well, why didn't you draw it from this high instead of this one? Or how come you didn't draw it from this one up here? There's other questions, and I'll probably try to do more videos on that. Or if you want, you can also I also do one-on-one mentoring or coaching and teach you one-on-one how that works. Also have a program coming out soon that'll get more in depth of all this stuff. But this is just a raw, basic training that I'm seeing to show you guys the potential of using trend lines in this way. So yeah, you can see how this is a perfect entry, and the market does its thing, and you can exit wherever you see fit. I had a level up here that I was looking for, and the market, you know, did a good job of this. So give you some examples of ones that did not work, and I'll stay on this one just to give you this is for the sake of not having to go all the way back on the chart and excuse me, all the way back on the chart, and that way we can see what doesn't work and how to look out for that. Okay. So let me see. Let's say this hasn't happened yet. Okay, you have your absolute high here, and then you have another obvious low right over here. You say, okay, well, I'm bearish, so you know what? I'm gonna wait until this mark comes down here, and then maybe I'll get in a trade. So let me draw this trend line. Okay, and right there, we're looking for this zone. Now this market comes down. Okay, you can see it broke it. It broke through the trend line, but it didn't test it. So the market left us, but it comes right back in. Okay, so we probably didn't get this trade. We would have waited for the pullback and try to go short here. Would have stopped here, and we would have got stopped out. Okay, which whatever is fine. That's why it's really important to never assume that the trade is going to work out, no matter how perfect it is. Never assume that the market's going to respect it 100%. So you always have to protect yourself with a stop loss. You have to. So again, now I find some support here. You can see some support, but breaks through, and it comes right back in. So at this point, we're looking. You know what? Am I going to keep this trend line here? No. This trend line is not really. The market's not respecting it. So you know what? I'm going to get rid of it, and that would be it. We would just wait for the next big high and big low so that we can look for other opportunities in the direction of the trend. Okay, you can see how this works out here. Okay, let's say this top to this bottom. This one kind of worked out, right? You can see it broke through. You get some resistance there, and it comes down, but we're watching this trend line here, the one that I just showed you before of going long. So we wouldn't really want to be involved in holding a short here. Okay. Let's look at some other examples. Let's see. Okay, this is another one that's actually pretty good. So again, we'll use this absolute top, and this is obviously an absolute bottom. So we'll use our trend line tool from up here and all the way down here. Okay. And this is a perfect example. Clear top, clear bottom, and the market did not respect it. Maybe respected it just a little bit, right over here, but that's about it. See, it starts going above, starts going below, starts seeing a little bit of resistance here, but it's sloppy. This price action is completely sloppy, and not surprising. This is around December, which is towards the end of the year, so the market usually gets a little sloppy towards the end of the year because there's not that much going on, and this right over here, once I saw this, or I saw this, of the candles going above and below, I would have got rid of it and said, okay, this is no longer a valid trend line for me, and I would have just got rid of it and said, okay, I need to wait for other opportunities. Let's try to find another one that didn't work properly. This one, let's see if this is this absolute top again. This is way back in 2017. Actually, this one did work. So yeah, I didn't take this trade though, but you can see the resistance to support and found support here, right? Let me look for another one that potentially didn't work. I'm going to give you guys one more example. See if I can find one that I did way back that didn't work. Okay, how about this one? Take this top to this bottom, and again, it's a nice clean trend line, clean top, clean bottom, but the market didn't respect it. Now I respected it over here, okay? Found some resistance, came up, found some resistance again, but this was too sloppy. I would not felt comfortable trying to short or play off of this trend line anymore, because the market's showing me that, you know what, it doesn't respect this trend line, so I got to get rid of it, and I got to look for other opportunities to get involved in this move and this trend, right? So again, nothing is 100%, but when the market does respect these trend lines, they're extremely powerful for you to get in long or short. And I'll leave off with this. Right now, this is a current chart. Right now, I'm looking at a trend line and potentially a long move, right? So again, I'm going to take this low right over here, and I'm going to connect this one and this one. Okay. If you look closer, you can see when there was a break, the market pulled back and found support here. But we're going to wait for this one to potentially come down and maybe take a long opportunity here. Okay. Another one I had drawn up to see if maybe it would get short on a resistance level is this top to this bottom. Okay. You can look through and see, you can see how this resistance here, the market gapped down, but as I said in my last video of the Euro USD analysis, you can see that it came up, respected that trend line, and continued down, even though there was a gap there. But I believe that the market will try to fill that gap eventually. And looking at a longer term time frame, this market still is potentially bullish. So that's it on trend lines. I would love if you guys could leave a comment, or you have any questions, or if you want to get some type of mentoring from me or coaching. I offer that as well. You can visit on internaltrader.com, or you can look in the description and see the different options. Maybe even sign up for the program that I have coming out soon, and we'll teach trend lines with some of the stuff that I just showed you, but it's going to be more in depth. Pivot zones, median levels, divergences, how to use them, the 4 chart patterns that I've learned over the course of the last 10 years that work extremely powerful. And all of these things have helped me tremendously in my trading. And I'm just trying to offer some help to the trading community, because I understand completely what it's like to feel completely stressed out. You're not sure about your trading strategy. You're not sure what exactly tools to use, or just overall confusion, frustration, and it's just, I understand that trading can be extremely stressful, especially when you're dealing with the emotions and the psychological aspects of trading, which can be really tough, extremely tough. It took me many years to get over it, but once you get over it and you have a confident strategy that you can implement in your trading, trading becomes almost effortless. Okay, losses are nothing as long as you control your risk, and things just become easier and more clear and simplified, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's it for now on this I guess you could call mini course. I hope you guys found this useful. again, I want to hear from you guys, and if you, if possible, just like and subscribe. That helps out the channel tremendously, and I'll look to add more content or more tutorials and mini courses for the internal trader community. And the next video I'm planning to do is maybe a psychological one. One of the things that I know that you guys are having trouble with is trading psychology. Strategy is absolutely important, but trading psychology and controlling your emotions is what's really gonna put you over the top. And I know firsthand how powerful your it doesn't matter how good your strategy is. It just absolutely does not matter, because I have stories to tell you. Maybe I will share them, of me having a big rise in profits and trading going absolutely perfect for me, only to come down and crash. And when all that happened, I had to look back calmly and think, how did this happen? How did I lose all this money? And it was a combination of, kind of stop focusing on trading as a business, and just trying to use it as, trying to make as much money as possible in the fastest way possible. If you do that, I can guarantee you, you're going to sink. At some point, it doesn't matter how much money you've made. At some point, it's going to catch up to you, and you're just going to crash and burn. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you from a lot of experience. So maybe that'll be the next video that I do. And if you guys are interested in hearing, my stories about that and how I overcame the struggles of trading psychology and emotions, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear them. And again, I hope you guys found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.